Listen in. Listen to the sound. Listen in. Listen to the pound. 'Cause when the sun comes up, you know it's your day. Soar with the wind. Listen in. Listen in. Follow your passion. That's why we all come. Without fear, live in the midnight sun. The light is here. Listen in. Listen in. Who does this right? The night of the light, to the light and by the light. Hanging on to his kite, which he can see. With faith, he lets go, his spirit set free. Soar with the wind, listen in, listen in, listen in. Listen to the sound, the light is here. Flow in life's river. Without fear you won't drown or shiver. Be a giver, the light will deliver. Let go, let go, let go. Let go of your bows and arrows. Negativity and fear equals zero. Sing from your heart like an innocent sparrow.
I can't articulate why, but I felt embarrassed.
Incomprehensible, honestly.
Yeah,
it's incomprehensible.
Let's talk a little bit about your physicality.
Yes, I can't even talk about Peter without being all teary. So, but y'all see me cry all the time. Y'all see me cry all the time. So,
the meaning across to bear, the true meaning of that, like we now all know the true meaning of RIP, R.I.P., R.I.P., is Rip the ugly and the smugly, and the darn wrong fugglier than any fugly. To rip and rip and rip the despicable and the deplorable and the horrible and the immorable, the insane, jealous human beings on this God-forsaken scene who cognitively try to disgrace the one and only real, blatant, obvious scientific evidence God. And they pretend one of the 4,000 plus immoral, demonic, zero scientific evidence cartoon God frauds is the one and only God Almighty. So the real true definition of across the bear is you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You reap and you reap and you reap what you sow. And so each reaping is across the bear, across the bear, across the bear. What goes around comes around. Karma. You reap and you reap and you reap what you sow.
Leads to salvation. Fully. And the only thing...
He said salvation leads... No, he says suffering leads to salvation. And now I forgot what salvation is. I just looked it up. Oh, in the Bible it says salvation is your freedom from sin. But suffering doesn't lead you to salvation. I think salvation is, you're going to have it great. From if you do nice things if you pass your lifetime test, salvation is having it great in heaven. Salvation isn't, you say a man named Jesus, God for a cartoon that never existed, really existed and was real. And if you say that Jesus is God, then when you go to heaven, you have salvation from desecrating all the American Indians in the name of a man named Jesus. And you have salvation from torturing African slaves put on ships in freezing cold chains and stacked like potato chips in their own piss and shit. In the name of a man named Jesus. And those people who sold the slaves. In the name of Allah and Muhammad, we'll all get salvation in heaven and other have it great in heaven. As long as you say, a man named Jesus is the one and only God Almighty. So even the people who sold the Africans in the name of Allah, and Muhammad, as long as they say after they sold the slaves, the Africans sold as slaves, they'll have salvation in heaven for being so evil. As long as they say a man named Jesus is the one and only God. Oh my
God, anything in my life comparable to what Peter experienced. There's a universal suffering that I think we can all connect on. But I don't know what I would actually do in the face of that kind of demonic malevolence.
Yeah.
To be really faced with
The true darkness.
I've had moments within myself where I've had to face things, but like to look into the eyes of that kind of malevolence.
It's either you are enlightened or you go crazy.
Yes, exactly.
There's no.
You either become enlightened or it breaks you.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
There's a term Plato used that puts those together, divine madness.
Yes.
That there's a certain divine madness that I was trying to depict from Peter. Because when you stop and you pray in that moment,
When you're being chased
When
by
you're being-
three
yes.
people with dogs
yes,
and horses.
that is a taste of divine madness.
Yeah.
That's what I learned from Peter. Like the idea of the darkness being the road to the light.
Yeah.
Facts.
Each other of our similarities, our commonalities with empathy. We don't have to get each other wholly, but we must recognize that we're all flesh and blood. We're not here for long. Let's lead with kindness.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
that says it all right there.
Yo.
That was beautiful.
That's great to
The
hear.
following words were told to the night by the light in the middle of the night.
Here's a few thoughts about emancipation I thought I would share with you. When people go to see this film, I'm hoping they'll be inspired and experience the love story and see a film about freedom and faith and family, as well as a story about strength and perseverance. The story of Peter is incredible, a man that was a slave, but was free in his mind, in his heart, in his spirit.
Emancipation has to be in our minds. Like Peter was enslaved, but he was never a slave.
But he was free
He
within.
was free.
He knew he was.